I have never seen Dear Evan Hansen. This is a true statement because I have actually never seen Dear Evan Hansen, which is why I'm making this video, because today I decided I want to see Dear Evan Hansen, and I want to make a video out of it. So I bought this nice little webcam instead of recording on this, so that I can make this video. And oh my god, this chair is loud. Remind me to buy a new chair in the comments, guys. Comment chair if you're this far into the video. So in today's video, I'm going to be watching Dear Evan Hansen the musical. Now you may be asking, how are you going to watch this? I can't exactly travel back in time and catch a Broadway matinee showing, but what I can do is thank the Lords in heaven art thou above for YouTube slime tutorials. Seriously though, if there's anyone who uploads slime tutorials watching this video, you are doing the Lord's work, sister. Keep going, keep fighting the good fight. Being that I'm watching all of this from a slime tutorial, there's obviously gonna be some, I guess, like boundaries put in place for how I'm gonna judge this. One of these rules, I guess I'm gonna call them, is I'm not exactly going to judge what's on stage, because I'm assuming this isn't exactly going to be a good view, being a secondhand slime making tutorial, but I can hope for good things. That being said, I'm not going to judge what I see on stage, so I'm not going to judge like the dancing or, oh, the choreography was wrong at this part. No, I'm not a dancing person. So I'm mostly going to be judging off of the message that the musical is putting across and how it makes me feel leaving. With that being said, let's get straight into this blind watch through. Editing Nick, if I forgot anything, coming right. Hey guys, Editing Nick here. If you want to get to the meat and potatoes of this video, just skip to this timestamp right here. However, if you're here for my last video, I have a little bit of an apology. So I got a lot of really basic stuff wrong about Cabaret in my last video, and I'm really sorry. It's not a West End production. Why the fuck would I think it was a West End production? It was obviously a Broadway production if it was at the fucking Dummies. So I'm sorry. I'm with you. Dear Evan Hansen starts by showing us a guy in his room writing a letter. This is Evan Hansen, a senior in high school with horrible social anxiety who recently broke his arm after falling out of a tree. Evan's therapist has asked him to write motivational letters to himself, which we find out from Evan's mom in the opening track in one of my favorite songs from the soundtrack.
Does anybody have a map? Anybody maybe happen to know how the hell to do this?
At the same time Evan is getting ready, we see the home life of another student, Connor Murphy, who is getting berated by his family for being high on the first day of school.
High.
Definitely high.
Fuck you!
Fuck you! I do not need you picking at your brother right now. That is not constructive. Are you kidding? Besides, he's not high.
Evan arrives at school and tries to socialize with a girl who really could not care how Evan's summer went. He then talks to his friend.
We're family friends. That's like a whole different thing, and you know it.
Sorry, family friend Jared Kleinman before Connor mistakenly thinks Evan is laughing at him and shoves him to the ground, which leads into waving through a window. A number where Evan talks about how he wishes he could be seen or a part of something. Evan then decides to write another letter about how this year's going to be awful. While Evan is printing out the letter to show for his therapy appointment later that day, he talks to Connor, who signs his cast before reading the note Evan wrote, which mentions his sister Zoe. Connor, thinking the letter was written to mock him, runs off with the letter. After several days with no sign of Connor, Evan talks with Jared about what he thinks Connor's going to do with the letter. He's called down to the principal's office where he sees Larry and Cynthia Murphy, Connor's parents. They ask to see Evan because his letter was found in Connor's pocket after he had taken his own life. Larry and Cynthia, believing the letter to be written by Connor to Evan, question their friendship as Connor never talked about any friends. Not wanting to further their grief and unsure what to do, Evan agrees to go to their house and talk about Connor. There, after seeing Cynthia's distress over the loss of her son, Evan panics and, rather than telling the truth, begins to fabricate an intricate story of his and Connor's friendship, claiming he and Connor kept a secret email correspondence and recounts a fictional version of the day he broke his arm in which Connor was with him. Later, Heidi reminds Evan that he needs to start applying for college scholarships. She mentions hearing about Connor's death, but Evan tells her not to worry that he doesn't know Connor. Seeing Connor's name signed on his cast, Heidi confronts Evan, but he lies, saying that someone else named Connor signed it. After realizing he needs evidence of his supposed secret email account, Evan enlists Jared's help in creating fake, backdated email conversations between himself and Connor. After Evan shows the Murphy family Connor's emails, Cynthia is ecstatic that her son had a friend, but Larry is more hurt that Connor took his family and his privileged life for granted. Zoe, who was alienated by Connor's aggressive behavior and claims that she does not miss him, refuses to mourn him at all. However, after reading the suicide note, Zoe notices that she is mentioned and asks Evan why Connor would say that about her. Evan, unable to tell her the truth, tells her all the reasons he loves her under the guise of Connor saying them. Overcome with emotion, he impulsively kisses Zoe, but she pulls away and tells him to leave. At school, Evan notices that people are starting to forget about Connor. Spurred on by a vision of Connor, Evan enlists Alana and Jared's help in forming the Connor Project, an organization dedicated to keeping Connor's memory alive. The three pitch the idea to the Murphys, who agree to support the project, moved by his dedication. Cynthia gives Evan a necktie that she had gotten for Connor that he had never worn, and asks Evan to wear it when he speaks at Connor's memorial service, which he hesitantly accepts. At the official launch of the Connor Project, Evan gives an inspiring speech about his loneliness and friendship with Connor, which goes viral. Zoe, overcome by the impact her brother and Evan have had, kisses him. Intermission time, baby. Dance party. Evan and Alana pitch a fundraising idea on the Connor Project's website. In memory of Connor, they want to raise $50,000 in 3 weeks to reopen the abandoned apple orchard that Evan and Connor allegedly spent time in. Evan, however, preoccupied with his new relationship with Zoe and his newfound family in the Murphys, begins to neglect his mother, Jared, and the Connor Project. Heidi tells Evan that she saw the video of his speech on Facebook and asks him why he did not tell her about the Connor Project or about his and Connor's friendship. He then angrily responds that he did not have the time to tell her because she's never around. Overcome with emotion, he then runs off to the Murphys, telling her that he's going to Jared's. At the Murphys, Evan bonds with Larry Murphy and confides in him that his father left when he was young, has remarried, and no longer keeps in touch with him or Heidi. Sometime later, at Evan's house, Evan makes an offhand comment to Zoe about he and his mother do not have much money and he needs the scholarships to pay for college. When he begins to mention Connor, Zoe tells him that she does not want the relationship to be about Connor, but about the two of them. Evan gets into a fight with Jared, who claims that Connor's death was the best thing that ever happened to Evan. He's no longer invisible and has landed the girl of his dreams. Later on, Evan goes to the Murphys only to discover that they have invited Heidi over for dinner. Heidi, who has no idea that Evan had spent time at the Murphys, is mortified when Larry and Cynthia offer to use the money that they had set aside for Connor's college fund to send Evan to school instead. After returning home, Heidi and Evan fight over his secrecy. When Heidi protests that the Murphys are not Evan's family, Evan confesses that he feels not only welcomed but also accepted by the Murphys in light of Heidi's absence and expectations towards Evan's mental health. Heidi tearfully berates him for running off to his new family, while Alana begins to find inconsistencies in the fake emails Evan received from Connor and suspects that the entire story is a lie. Beginning to panic, Evan urges Jared to help him clear up the inaccuracies, but Jared refuses due to Evan's own absence. Evan counters that Jared himself had acted as a friend to him only when he needed something from him. Jared threatens to expose Evan, but Evan warns him he could, in turn, open up about Jared's role. All three converge in Evan's conscience, compounding his guilt and doubt over his decisions. Evan decides to come clean with what he has done. Imaginary Connor attempts to talk him out of it, citing the happiness he has given the Murphys and the fate of Evan's relationship with Zoe. But Evan does not back down, angrily shouting he needs the whole thing to be over. Connor goes unconvinced and asks Evan how he broke his arm. Did he fall by accident or actually let go? Evan denies intent, but Connor tells him if he tells the truth, all he has will be gone, and the only thing he will be left with is himself. He disappears, leaving Evan alone. Evan goes to apologize to Alana, but she says that she's given up on Evan helping her with the Connor Project. She doubts the truth of Evan's repeated statements that he was Connor's best friend, since they were never seen together, and she says that it's easy to create fake backdated emails. Desperate, Evan says that he has proof that they were friends. He shows her the letter to himself that he wrote when he was giving up on having a good year, claiming it to be Connor's suicide note. Realizing that the letter is the key to fulfilling the fundraising goal, Alana posts it online, to Evan's embarrassment, and it goes viral. As a result, however, many people begin to believe Connor's suicide was because of his uncaring parents. Connor is distraught and goes to see the Murphys, who have become the target of hateful comments from people who believe that they were responsible for Connor's death. He walks in on the three of them fighting about why Connor really killed himself and finally admits that he fabricated the entire thing.
He was trying to be better. He was trying.
And he was failing!
We failed him.
No, you didn't fail him!
Look at what he wrote.
You didn't write it! I wrote it!
You didn't write Connor's suicide note.
It wasn't a... It was an assignment,
hopeful that he could forge a genuine bond with the Murphys out of the tragedy. As Zoe and her mother tearfully run out, Larry turns away from Evan in disgust. Alone once more, Evan absorbs his perceived brokenness as inescapable. Evan finds Heidi waiting for him at home, who saw the letter online, immediately knowing that it was one of Evan's therapy assignments. She apologizes to Evan for not seeing how badly he had been hurting, though Evan denies her guilt due to his deception. He then vaguely admits that his fall was a suicide attempt. Heidi sits him down and recalls the day that his father moved out, how she felt so small and alone, and did not know how she was going to make it by herself. In the end, however, she realized that she was not alone. She had Evan and knew that the two of them could make it through anything so long as they were together. Tearfully, Heidi promises that she will be there for him when she needs her. A year later, Evan is still living at home and working at the pottery barn to earn enough money to go to college the next semester. He contacts Zoe, whom he has not seen since she found out the truth, asking if she will agree to meet him. She does, but insists that they meet at the orchard that has been reopened in Connor's memory. He apologizes for the pain he caused her family, admits that he has been reading Connor's 10 favorite books after finding a list in an old yearbook in an attempt to connect with who he really was. He also thanks her and her parents for keeping his secret and revealing that they never told anyone else that his friendship with Connor was a lie. She forgives him, saying the whole ordeal brought her family closer together over the past year because everyone needed it for something. Evan asks her why she insisted on meeting at the orchard, and she replies that she wanted to be sure he saw it, and the two share a gentle moment before they awkwardly part. Evan mentally writes himself one last letter reflecting on the impact he has had on his community, and finally accepts himself. When I tried to find actual, legitimate criticisms of Dear Evan Hansen, because I knew people didn't like it, I couldn't find, really any. All the places that I looked, like Reddit and stuff, just told me they thought it missed the mark on mental health, but weren't specific at all. And honestly, while I was watching it, I didn't really see anything bad or, horrible. But does Dear Evan Hansen stand up 8 years later? Honestly, I think it does. And I honestly think this is a very important show. And that it should have more attention than it does. Because I feel like the Evans and Connors of the world could see the show and it could really help them cope with their situation. This is the end of the video. Thank you guys for sticking around this long if you did. If you like this video, subscribe. There's a lot more to come, I promise. If I get